Hello, this is Mr. Vargas, and this is the first platformer tutorial, part one of my platformer tutorial series. There'll be a bunch of videos that will guide you through this project, and this is the very first one. So, hopefully, if you're watching this video, you have already done a little bit of homework. You have figured out where your game is going to take place, who your main character is, maybe even checked out some videos that I had posted of famous platformers like Sonic and Mario and Mega Man. So you have an idea of where the setting of your game and who the characters are. Also, hopefully, you've had a chance to look at the final project requirements. So this is by the end of this project, your game should have all of these. I'm not gonna go over this in this video, but it would be helpful if you've done that prior to starting this project. But if you haven't, you can just follow along. We're making a platformer. It's a side-scrolling game. My game is going to star Captain Vargas, and he is an astronaut that is being sent into space to help fight these aliens that have come out of the ground and on several different planets. I think that's enough for you to know to do today's work. So let's get started. So if you go to My Games inside of FlowLab, obviously we're using flowlab.io. You're gonna hit New Game, and in a second, we're gonna click Empty Project, hit OK, and let's go do some of our settings. So my game is gonna be called The Abyss. And gravity, we'll leave gravity as is for now. And width and height. So the dimensions, remember, the width and height is not the dimensions of your level, it's the dimensions of your screen. And we're gonna go with 20 by 15. So this is kind of like an old school, and then remember, these are grids, and grids are 32 pixels. So if you do the math, this comes out to 640 by 480, which is kind of like the old school standard definition resolution. So we're gonna go with that. And now let's make our main character. So I'm going to click right here. I'm gonna hit create. So just click anywhere kind of in the lower left quadrant of the screen. And I'll just call it player. And let's go draw our character. So edit sprite. And remember, this is the most important graphic in your game. This is who the player is controlling. So because of that, in today's part of the tutorial, the only thing due today is to design your character, because I really want to give you the whole period to make a character that you like. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you ended up even redoing it in the future, because this is such an important image. So I'm going to hit resize over here, because right now the default canvas is a 1 grid canvas. That's way too small for a character. So we're gonna do resize canvas, and then you'll have to pick a height and a width. And a lot of this is gonna depend on what kind of character. If you're doing kind of like a cartoony character, it'll be a little bit more squarish. My character is gonna be kind of a humanoid, so it's gonna be more kind of like a vertical. It's gonna be longer than it is wide. Like if you were doing like Mario, it'll be 3 grids by 2. But I'm gonna do 4 by 2. And let me go to my pencil tool. I should erase this block right here. Press delete. All right. If you want, you can make the grid size a little bit smaller to get a little more detail in there. And I'm gonna start with the outline to my character. Now, I'm gonna do this quick, so you can take a lot more time than I'm going to, because I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me do a very detailed drawing. But we're gonna draw our astronaut right here. Now, one thing, they changed FlowLab. They made kind of the background a little darker, so I kind of don't like it for when you're using a black pencil tool, because it's a little hard to see. You could do a white outline, I guess, or a gray outline, kind of like black outlines. And again, this is not a great. I'll probably redo this. Don't be surprised if in my next tutorial my character looks maybe a little bit better, or maybe I'll just leave it. All right, so Because again, I'm gonna just try to do this quick. Okay, and then let's do his glass over here. Now let me use the paint bucket tool, and you'll be able to see this character a lot better. Let's use maybe like a light gray for his suit, and maybe like a light blue for his for the glass. And you know what? I'm gonna go back in with the black tool and give him a belt. And I'll probably use the paint bucket tool again and kind of change the color of some of these different parts. Give him some boots. Give him a glove. And maybe I'll kind of, this will be like a little collar, I guess. All right, so now I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna use some other shades of gray, and you know, maybe I'll make his belt yellow. And you know what? I missed a little spot right here for his. You know what? Maybe I'll give him like a little bracelet. He has a bracelet, and I'll do the same thing over here with the top of his boots. Maybe look kind of like a little cuff. All right, so let's see. We made his belt yellow. Let's make his this kind of bracelet thing red. And I'll do the same thing with the boots. Now maybe I will change the shade of gray on his shirt and maybe his boots. And I think, you know what, I think I'm gonna stop right there. So you get the idea. Take your time, make it look, you know, better. You know, this is a really important image, but I'm gonna stay with this just for the purposes of keeping this brief. And we'll press OK. So we have our character. Now let's do the coding. Now this is gonna make you happy because up to this point I've made you code everything from scratch, but for this project I decided that I'm actually gonna let you use one of the built-in behavior bundles. So there's one called Run and Jump, and I'm gonna add that to this project, and you get a single block, but this single block actually has a bunch of code inside of it. So if I click on this block, I can do open bundle, and now you have a whole bunch of code here. First thing I see is this object is not movable, so I should actually go fix that real quick. I'm pressed OK. I'm just gonna go to the physics for my character, and we're gonna make the character movable, and I'm gonna change the collision shape to rectangle, and I think this is good for now. So let's go back to properties. Let's go to behaviors. So here's the bundle that we added, Run and Jump bundle. Now notice you don't get those warnings. So this pretty much does the main code for you, the basic kind of movement code. You got a left and right keyboard trigger to move your character left and right. You know, if you want to change that to WASD, you can just click on it and do change key. If you want to change the speeds, you can do that as well. Over here, we have a flip. This is going to make it so that when you press to the left, it will flip the sprite. So it's important when you draw your sprite, you draw it looking to the right, because that way the flip will work properly. If you do it the other way, it's an easy fix. We'll have to kind of swap these. So yeah, so this is the moving left and right code. Now here's the jump code. Now this looks a little confusing, but this is actually very important. Basically, when you press up, you want your character to jump. So we're pushing the character up. But the thing is, if your character is in the air, you don't want them to be able to jump again. So we have a switch, and when the switch is off, right, we have an input going in and an input going out. When the switch is on, it's almost like the connection just happens, goes from here to here automatically. When the switch is off, it kind of turns off that kind of travel. Like it won't, even if this is on, this just stays off. So what we're doing is whenever we press up, we jump, right? So this will make it jump. But then look at this wire right here. As soon as you jump, the wire turns the switch off, so you can't jump again. And the only way the switch gets turned back on, so you're able to jump, is when you hit something. So whenever you jump and you're mid-air and you press jump again, the switch is off. As soon as you hit the ground, the switch will turn back on. All right, so press OK, press OK. And if I hit play, my character just falls off the screen. So why don't we just hit create, and just it'll, FlowLab by default just makes a block, and we can just use that block to test our movement. And I think we're gonna run into a tiny little problem that we need to fix. So I'm gonna press a play. I'm gonna move left, right. I go to jump, and it almost looks like he's not jumping, but if you look closely, you can kind of see him bouncing a little bit. The way jumping works in FlowLab is that the size of your character impacts how much force the character needs to jump. And 12 is just not nearly enough for a character of this size. So let's just click on that and let's change it to 120. And I don't even know how this is gonna work. Let's test it out. Let's play. And then 120 actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I might leave it there. That might be a little high. Actually, no, I think that's good. You know, we want to be jumping on platforms and things like that. I think 120 is pretty good. But anyways, so and that number is going to be different for you. If your character is tiny, 120 is going to be way too big. Your character is going to fly off the screen. If your character is huge, that's not going to be enough. So you might have to play with that. But that's pretty much it. This is part one of the platformer tutorial. At this point, you have a character that moves left, right, and jumps, and you are all set for part one. Thank you for watching. Bye.